edition of the Metal Hammer of Doom podcast. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. With me, as always, is my co-host, the author of the original, never to be duplicated, always outstanding Metal Hammer of Doom column that you can read every week, maybe, on 411mania.com. He's a prolific podcaster in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Cooper. How do you do, sir?
Yeah, I don't do too badly. You know, Labor Day weekend, you know, I really thought it for 4 days. It sure didn't last. Feel like even 3. But hey, fun with weddings, and I went and saw White House Down. I would not recommend that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it's terrible. My daughter cried tears of joy when she met Sophia the First.
Yeah, it was a 2-hour movie that felt like 3.
Yeah, it looked terrible. On Sunday, I had a friend come in from New York, my co-host of the Right Hook, Mr. John Brodigan of the consultant class, and he was in town for an Americans for Prosperity event as part of the From the Right radio team. So they get invited to all these different events throughout the country, and so they get together with their fellow bloggers and stuff. He came down, and I actually did 2 hours of live radio from the Finger Hut, Finger Malloy's hotel room, as it were, just a spit's distance away from Universal Studios. If you actually walked across the street and hopped the fence, you'd be on the Hulk. That's how close they were. So I went to Orlando Thursday night, hung out with them, did 2 hours of live radio with a bunch of the good folks there from therrightradio.com. And then they went and did their thing. I went home because I have to go to work the next day, and I didn't want to go do karaoke with a bunch of drunk neocons. So Saturday he was still at the event, and then he was checking out of the hotel and then coming to my house to watch UFC 164. And I was all prepared to open Sunday's show with "Light 'em up, Black Jesus, light 'em up, Black Jesus, light 'em up, Black Jesus, whoa." You know, a little Fall Out Boy, but mixed in Black Jesus in there. Would have been a mashup for the ages. And then he was submitted in the first round by Armbar. So I was like, well, no more Black Jesus never taps, I'll tell you that much. But he slept over. He slept over that night after all the shenanigans were over, and then I brought him to the airport the next day. And since I was bringing him to the Orlando airport anyway, my wife got the bright idea of let's just go to Hollywood Studios. And Hollywood Studios is where they have a lot of the Disney Junior stuff. So they changed the Disney Junior show. They took out Handy Manny. I don't remember who. Oh, they took out the Little Einsteins, and they put in. They kept Jake and the Neverland Pirates. I know this is very interesting. They added in Doc McStuffins, and they added in Sophia the First. And Sophia the First was actually signing autographs outside of the Disney Junior thing. So we stood online so my daughter could meet Sophia the First, and she was very, very excited. She kept cutting the line, and we had to keep telling her, no, that's how you get put in the unhappiest place on earth, in the happiest place on earth. You know, you don't want to end up in Disney jail. So, we made her stay online, and then she got there, and she was verklempt. She was absolutely verklempt, Robert Cooper. She saw Sophia the First, and she just cried tears of joy. She couldn't stand it.
No, that's the cutest.
Yep. You should have seen her during the Disney Junior show. I mean, I thought she was going to throw her diaper on stage. She was so excited. Fucking Mickey came out. Because the whole thing is the world's dumbest show, by the way, even by kid standards. You have the Mickey Mouse Club comes out, and it's Minnie's birthday, and they all have to do things for Minnie's birthday party, except that they're all mentally retarded. So Donald does. So Donald doesn't know how to buy a gift, and Daisy doesn't know how to hang a sign, and Goofy doesn't know how to bake a cake. See, and
he's Goofy.
Well, I mean, his made the most logical sense, but literally, I don't know what to buy. Which, okay, I guess that would make sense too. But their solution was you have to, depend on a friend. It was like the solutions didn't necessarily match the problem.
It's not handy.
Well, the best one was the cake. So Goofy's solution for baking a cake was get a cheering section.
What's he gonna do? Fucking cheer the cake into fruition?
I was yelling out, "How about follow a recipe?" And people like, "Shut up!"
Why don't you go buy a cake, you asshole?
But yeah, Mickey Mouse came out, and my daughter could not be contained. She was standing up, dude. It was like she was at a Pantera concert. She was just jumping up and singing along, and she held up a lighter. It was great, man. I can't wait till she gets past this stage and I can actually bring her to a real concert.
Yeah, well, hey, at least you don't have to sing the Barney theme song like 30,000 times a day like my parents did. Yeah, good times.
So all of that was to answer your question, how was my Labor Day weekend? But I didn't come here to tell you any of that. Tonight we go back to the book of Phil Anselmo, the latest chapter in his musical life. A couple of months back we did a full retrospective of the Pantera catalog, and tonight we will review the latest Phil Anselmo solo project called Philip H Anselmo and the Illegals, Walk Through Exits Only. Or as my father would say, walk up the down staircase. So, Robert, let's get into this. What do you know about this album? Before we decided to sit down and review it, what was the buzz on it? What did you hear about it, etc.? Just talk to me a little bit about your impressions of the album before you even sat down to listen to it.
Well, I had only one impression, I had more than one. I had a few reviews, but I listened to the single "Bedridden," which is I think the second shortest song on this, and it was, it's kind of sludgy and stuff. It's got kind of the down-tuned guitars, and it had kind of a nice catchy riff to it, and Phil was doing his usual "I'm Phil" type of thing, and just having vocals lower than didgeridoo. But I was going off of the album would be kind of like that, kind of short and kind of fun to listen to and really catchy, and it's going to be in your head all day. Then I read the reviews and they're like, this is a really raw and heavy album, and it's going to be kind of hard to place if you're like not a huge fan of the style. Like if you're just a Phil Anselmo guy, it's not going to be down because it's not heavy enough for. It's a bit too heavy for down, and Pantera is a bit too slow. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I sat down and listened.
Now, I am very familiar with Pantera, obviously. I'm very familiar with Down. I've actually been to see Superjoint Ritual in concert. So when I saw that Phil Anselmo was doing a solo album again, which was supposed to be a departure from what he'd been doing in Down and so forth, I thought it would actually be a lot like Superjoint Ritual. That was what I was expecting. Very short, very short, but punky, rhythmic songs.
You just totally cut out.
Okay,
you cut out or I cut out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good now. And you were starting like, it's a total departure from everything he's done. I noticed it's been cutting out.
Huh? Wonder why. In any case, maybe it's Skype tonight. Who knows? But but what I was saying was, I was expecting an album like Superjoint Ritual. Let me go ahead and say I was not tremendously impressed with this album. And people, I've been reading a lot of reviews on it, and they're like, well, if you were expecting Pantera, Down, or Superjoint Ritual, you're going to be disappointed. Okay, granted, I just said I was expecting something like Superjoint Ritual, because that seems to be his motif, but that's not why I'm disappointed. I can accept something that's off the beaten path. I can't accept something that's off the beaten path if it sucks. I can understand sort of, playing around with different sounds and new ideas or whatever, but it still has to be good. And I feel like Phil Anselmo definitely had an influence on Pantera. You can feel his influence, especially I think in the later albums. If you listen to some of the other stuff that he cites as influences on himself, plus what he puts out there in his side projects. I feel like this walkthrough exits only would have been if Phil Anselmo was the sole creative director of Pantera and the band had stayed together. I feel like this album would have been the one that followed the Great Southern Trendkill. It really does follow in that vein as far as being rhythmically very choppy. Yes, very heavy, very angry. It was actually described as sort of sludge, and sludge, but like sludge, as a 4x4 is driving through the mud, and mud is flying everywhere. It isn't quite doom. It's a very hard album, I think, to digest. Now, if this is your bag, if you like this sort of thing, that's fine. I struggled with it because it's not my sort of thing. I'm going to let you sort of respond to that, and then we're going to play the first track.
Well, I got like half of it, so I'll go with what I can. I could definitely see that. Just really did kind of feel like, a sequel to the Great Southern Trendkill, and especially in a lot of like the rhythms in it. Kind of, they were reminiscent of some of the stuff that we did hear on there, because it didn't really feel like reinventing the steel. So I kind of feel like this album here is kind of like, that album that, if this album were to come out, in 1990, this would be it, kind of like, Death Magnetic was the sequel to Injustice for All, something like that. And, I was disappointed at it, because, I was not expecting it to sound like any of his other stuff, but I was expecting it, or at least not directly sounding like any of his other stuff. Maybe, kind of, sort of, maybe had some influences of it, but still a semblance of his other work. And it really, really wasn't, besides, that Pantera comparison that you made earlier. Otherwise, this was pretty different.
Yeah. All right, so neither one of us was tremendously impressed. Let's hear a little bit of what doesn't impress us. This is the first track, the aptly named Music Media Is My Whore.
The time has surfaced for a joint reform. Throw a wish into the dump down, automatic, demanded, solicited, ignorant protocol. Sternly embrace the rise of authentic anti-music. Unearthly, tempered, and ominous, sonori, relentless, irrationality. A startling original unlike
Okay, so first track, and it's only a minute and God, how long was that? Minute and 50, so it's almost 2 minutes long. 6 seconds short of 2 minutes. As an opening track, it definitely sets the tone for the rest of the album, except that the tone is awful. The impression I got, and this is a good example of it, the impression I got with this album, it felt like he just put a bunch of musicians in the room and said, okay, let's jam. And sometimes that works really, really well, and you get something that sounds like Down, for example, or, you get the Jelly Jam, you get, guys just kind of playing off each other, and it sounds really jazzy and bluesy, and, it's just good stuff. And then you hear something like that, and it's like, okay, let's all come over and jam, and everyone's just playing their own song, and it's not gelling together at all, and it just sounds like noise.
Yeah, it honestly felt like he had a band together and decided to cover his spoken word performances. It's kind of, when you, like I said before the show, before I looked at the lyrics just to see what we had, I did not realize how much shit he put in this. Like, lyrically, this is a very rich album. even if half the shit, like, just glancing at it, I can't make much sense of. But if you gave me 10 minutes per song, I'm pretty good at analyzing poetry and music. But, yeah, it's a very lyrically rich album, but it honestly feels like, because I know he does some spoken word stuff, feels like his spoken word performances were covered by, like, some friends of his. He's like, okay, guys, you know, we're going to do something that's really angry and heavy, and we're going to put that on top of my spoken word performances. And they're like, hey, you're paying. Cool.
I'm just happy to have work.
Yeah, it kind of did feel like that. Like, honestly, the first time I listened to this song, I got nothing from it. Like, because half the time, I'm not going to say half the time, but usually the first track of an album, unless it's, like, really good, which usually I think an album usually tries to put its best foot forward. But this it didn't grab me at all. Like, it just kind of faded into the background of my ears, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just listen to? Why was Phil muttering over a jam?
I was driving.
Muttering over a battalion.
I was driving to Orlando from Frostproof, which is great if you don't live in Florida. That totally makes sense. I was driving about an hour from where I worked to where I was going to meet up with my buddies from the Right Radio, and on Thursday night. And I was like, okay, well, this is an opportune time for me to listen to the album. And I put on Spotify, and I put on the first track, and I thought Spotify was broken. I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm like, why is it playing it in the middle of the song? You know, or like, do I have this on?
It reminds me of one time when I hit I was going a little too fast and I was lost, and I hit bunch of railroad bumps and stuff, and my Metallica CD skipped for a minute. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Were you talking and I just talked over you?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't sure if I was talking over. But yeah, that's kind of what a lot of this album reminds me of. It reminds me of I was driving too fast, I was lost trying to take a shortcut on the way home, went 40 over a railroad, and then it's playing Free Speech for the Dumb for like 2 minutes. That is this album.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in Pantera where it's just Phil screaming and there's a lot of noise. But, it's like you get that, you get like a good friends and a bottle of pills amidst an album of really awesome stuff. So it's like you can forgive, the times where they decide to do something that sounds like an art project. The problem is this is an entire album full of art projects. And it doesn't really work as well for me. I mean, some of the stuff's not that bad, but let's get to track 2 here. Let's move right along. This is Battalion of Zero. Going on indeed. Robert, talk to me a little bit about his spoken word and his lyrical content. What kinds of things is Phil trying to tell us? Did Timmy fall in the well?
Yeah, quick, Timmy fell in the well. Get Phil Anselmo, he'll tell the world.
He's the town crier.
Oh, God. Except I think he'd be on a funnier show than 2.5 Men.
Boo! Boo. Did you hear me that time? Boo.
Yeah, I actually took it a second. Damn. Blog Talk Radio. Yeah, the first song, it's pretty easy to tell that one. It's because the last line is, or the last two is, but the rebuttal is truth, the regurgitation is boring. Simulation is death, agitated, anthemic, discordant, chorals, takeover begins now. It begins now, Batman. Yeah, like that's, I think that was pretty much the first one. I was like, yeah, stuff being done over and over again is boring. I'm like, you're right, Phil Anselmo. Go ahead and make a spoken word album. Bitches will buy it left and right.
All right, so that Battalion of Zero song, a lot of that same kind of sound of a riot, the musical interpretation of what a riot might sound like, and Phil Anselmo just screaming incessantly. You ever see Back to the Future where Marty McFly puts on the radiation suit and he tries to trick his dad by saying that he's Darth Vader? And he uses the Walkman to say that he's going to fry your brain. He's going to fry his brain, but he's playing like Van Halen. Imagine if it was Phil Anselmo and the Illegals. What poor George McFly would have thought. Because
George McFly would have thought we were going to hell.
That's the thing. Like, if someone were right now to come in here and put that on me while I was sleeping, I would have thought I was dying and my brain was being melted.
Yeah.
It's like death metal. It's the repetitiveness of death metal without the growling.
Well, that and death metal at least manages to change between verse and chorus. Like this, honestly, like I said, it feels like spoken word, and it's just one repetitive loop over and over, which I think really takes away from the good part. There are some good parts of this album. But I feel like stuff like this, if you gave me 15 minutes, really just comb over what he's talking about, I could probably tell you something. But just looking at it at a glance, I'm like, dude, it feels like you're just yelling words and then saying hands up, hands down, and we're playing 7-Up in 4th grade all over again.
Yeah, I feel like instead of calling this Philip H Anselmo and the Illegals, they should have said Philip H Anselmo. Oh, I cut out again? Yeah,
it seems like every time you start, half the times you start a point, it's like, and then 30 seconds, 5 seconds later, I'm like, maybe? And it's like, no. I'm like, damn it.
Okay. This is gonna be fun tonight.
It will. It's gonna be like, let's play Mad Libs with Mark Radulich and Robert Cooper.
Okay. Well,
we should do Phil Anselmo. We should do Phil Anselmo Mad Libs next episode.
There we go. Well, let me first.
This album.
Well, that was what I was going to get. Philip H Anselmo and the Mad Libs. That's actually kind of funnier than what I was going to say, which is they should have called this album Philip H Anselmo Throws a Tantrum. So it's one song after another of him. Next.
Philip H Anselmo, can I find an adjective?
All right. Speaking of Philip H Anselmo, here is the next track. This is track 3. This is called Betrayed. There's a guy First of all, let me start off right so that you can understand me. Yum. There's a guy. Is that better now?
Yeah, I thought at first when you were just you were about to say now, and then it almost got out. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
There's a guy I'm working with in the jail that I work at. Is presently on suicide watch. Not really suicidal. He's just a huge baby. And today, I've dealt with him a bunch of times before, and we're at a point where letting him off suicide watch is probably going to do more harm than good, even though he's not suicidal, and it's really a matter of not having the right resources to deal with people with borderline personality disorder and that sort of thing, which is a wholly different podcast, but I am trying to make a point here. So he's screaming behind the door, "What did I do? What did I do? What did I do?" over and over and over again. You know, what did I do that they had to put him on suicide watch? The other thing he was screaming was he couldn't breathe. So he's in a cell by himself, and he's saying that he can't breathe in the cell, that I have to let him off suicide watch because he can't breathe. Of course, if he couldn't breathe, he wouldn't be able to tell me that. So he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Let me out of here, I can't breathe. Let me out of here, I can't breathe." And then when that didn't work, he started to scream, "What did I do? What did I do?" And then he was screaming something else, but I don't remember what it was. I feel like had I just showed up with a guitar and one of the other inmates was banging on some pots and pans, it would have sounded like that last song. Did I completely lose you?
You lost me right at the end, but I got most of the story. Pretty much, this insane rambling man could have actually made lots and lots of money with Mark Radulich on guitars.
Well, the point of it is it would have sounded exactly like the song we just heard.
Yeah. I mean, this song's a little easier to digest or lyrically digest than the other one. It's pretty, it's pretty cut and dry. Betrayed. Some of how the people have been betrayed, and how can the people be betrayed to sleep at night? I'm assuming he's talking about the government, and then he's like, how can we sleep at night because of what they're doing, and mass hypnosis and stuff like that.
Oh my God,
yeah,
that's the one. That was the one thing that was the one of the things I made out in the song, which was I'm waiting for the world to have like something along the lines of like mass wake up, or some. I'll go ahead. You jump in here. Let me see if I can pull up the lyrics to this.
Yeah, it's pretty much that's what this song is really about. It's about it's almost like the last two lines can really kind of help you what it stands for. It says, "We must stand resolute, extremists resolute. I've been betrayed, revolt." So yeah, I feel like that is really what this song is about. It's about he's feeling betrayed, I'm assuming, by the government again, because who really betrays you other than ex-girlfriends and the government? Oh, and your crackhead best friend. But luckily, I don't have a crackhead best friend, so that's good. But
okay, here it is.
Yeah, that is. Okay.
Here it is. This is a call for mass awareness. Can I just say that I think we're long past the time that music is going to bring people to an awakening. That I think we're long past the time that anyone's going to listen to Taylor Swift or Phil Anselmo or Miley Cyrus or Pat Benatar or Bob Dylan and think, you know what, maybe we shouldn't bomb Syria. I just don't think that people at this point, I don't care how many times Ministry writes a song about the 99% or George Bush, I think that people go, yeah, cool, and then that's it, they go back to their life. Is it just me or is it just seems very trite for these musicians who have made a tremendous amount of money and done more drugs than enough drugs to drop a fucking horse, sitting there saying, I'm waiting for the rest of you people who buy my albums to wake up. On behalf of all of us who are awake and didn't do a massive amount of drugs, go fuck yourself. Is that wrong?
Oh, no. I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not quite as indignant about it as you are. Then again, I haven't been listening to people telling me to wake up for the past 25 years. You know, why do I know? But, I mean, I don't mind the whole wake up sort of thing. I guess on occasion, really, you know, a song really can, you know, it can bring somebody who is uninformed informed and maybe change their mind on a subject. I mean, I've had a few songs do that.
You know what we should be resolute against? You know what we should be resolute against? Two things. I think more than Syria, more than the military-industrial complex, more than the 1%, what we need to stand resolute against is Ben Affleck as Batman.
I don't think it's that bad. You missed that episode of the Three Beards because my audio was really out of whack, so Kevin just had to scrap it. We talked about Batfleck, but then again, it was 30 minutes of Batfleck. I actually let a fart so loud you could hear it on the recording. Pretty impressive, I must say.
You know what we should also stand resolute against? We should,
What?
you know, that as a society, we should come together and stop. We should make the president write a law that prevents this from ever happening again. You know what I'm talking about?
This album?
No, twerking.
Damn it.
I stand resolute against twerking, Robert Cooper. I feel like we are a worse-off nation for twerking.
See, you cut off right before you said twerking, and now that you've said twerking, see, I thought you were going to say another Philip H Anselmo album. But yes, twerking is the, if Lewis Black's show The Root of All Evil was still around, I think it would win, because nothing good comes from twerking. Nothing good really comes from, okay, some good things come from twerking. Like, you know, as an admirer of the female bottom, I salute the idea of twerking. It's just the fact that there's a lot of white girls that think they're good at it and they're really not. I go to a predominantly black college now. I can vouch for that. As liaison.
I feel like... Are you the ambassador of twerking?
I am the ambassador.
Yeah, I think you've now graduated from Funtime Robert Cooper to the ambassador of twerking.
Oh God, no, I'm good. I am good with ambassador. We can give Lambert the ambassador of twerking or something.
All right.
He likes female pop stars.
Here's enough of my ranting. This is Usurper Bastard's rant. More of the same. That actually had some degree of a rhythm to it. So, you know, there were parts of it that, again, you know, Super Joint Ritual tended to be choppy at times, but it still had a rhythm to it. You know, it made me want to twerk, Robert Cooper. Super Joint Ritual had me. Super Joint Ritual had me twerking in the Bowery. That's what was going on at the time.
Were you with Raven getting your head beat through with a guitar?
No, the Bowery Ballroom in New York City.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking of that stuff. I was thinking of the Bowery. You know where Raven's from?
Yes, I understand. That's why I did.
I know you get the reference. You're old. God, don't put the image of you twerking in my head again. That is not nice. That is not nice, Mark Radulich.
Super Joint Ritual had me twerking in the Bowery, but I don't see myself twerking to Usurper Bastard's rant.
No, but I mean, hey, at least this song did have a pretty nice rhythm section, like right in the middle. But I mean, just how choppy this is. Don't you think this is better set in a jazz club with some like pretentious bitch with a beret playing bongos?
Well, that's what I mean. This is what I was saying before. You know, this has all the choppiness that made up a lot of the Great Southern Trendkill. This feels like it's an evolution from that, and it's odd that he would go back to that period of his music. I mean, people are like, oh, he was trying something new, he was doing something. No, he's doing exactly what they did with the Great Southern Trendkill, minus the rhythm.
Wasn't he highly hopped out on drugs then? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure like that was. Yeah, he's clean.
It's like, you know what I want to do? I want to make the Great Southern Trendkill again, but this time not on drugs.
You know, this time I want to do it with a clear mind, but you know, Dimebag's kind of dead, so I'm going to get this guy whose Metal Archives page includes this band.
I'm wonderfully kind of homeless, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he has another credit. Yeah, Marzi. Yeah, that's the other band that he's active in, Marzi. Oh, and he was in Superjoint, so okay. Okay, he was in Superjoint. Let's see about the drummer. Was he in Superjoint? No, he's in War Beast. Okay, War Beast is pretty cool. What about the bassist? Nope. Oh, he's not even in Phil's band. Fuck.
Okay.
Really? Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if you went dead or something.
No, I was waiting for you to finish that thought. All right.
Yeah, this is a band of misfits, including guy who's not in the band anymore, guy in War Beast, and some guy that used to be in Superjoint.
I think this band was made up of people who were in Phil Anselmo's house at the time that he decided this was a good idea.
Actually, that is a great possibility because War Beast are signed on to his Housecore Records label, so it's tours with them. So you know, they had a split up.
Hey, you have a choice. You can either go out and buy milk, or you can come play bass in this band. Oh, I'm gonna go play bass.
Okay, just remember, just think bongos.
All right.
Think bongos and slide guitar.
Moving right along here, we have about 20 minutes left of this rather short, abbreviated podcast tonight. So here it is, track 5, Walk Through Exits Only. This is the title track of this wonderful album. Was the recording process of this album like, okay, we're going to sit here, we're going to record a song, and, you know, we're going to have this long intro, and then, like, they recorded it. It turned out that it was 12 hours long. So, like, okay, we need to cut some of this stuff. Let's just cut everything up to Phil singing. When Phil sings, that's going to be the song. Like, every single song just... Yes.
Yeah. It's like, hey guys, I like Dream Theater. You know what they do? Yeah. Let's not do that. But let's give 6-minute songs of me jabbering. Which this song, actually, I don't mind the lyrical content because after reading lyrical content, it's not bad. And this song actually is one of my favorites of the album because it's got a fairly catchy rhythm to it. Ermagerd.
Yeah, it's in there. It's buried, and it's sort of hard to take it seriously when you have to get through, okay, hit record. Ah! My daughter and I will occasionally have a scream off. She'll walk up to me and just start yelling. Like, ah! And then I'll turn to her, and her mother loves this, by the way, loves that her child and her husband are now having a scream off in the middle of the living room. But she'll go, ah! And then I'll turn to her, and I'll get right in her face, and I'll go, ah! And she goes, no, Dada, and pushes me. and she says, "Ah!" And we'll do this 4 or 5 times before my wife says, "Stop it or I'm leaving."
That is every scene kid in the mosh pit.
Wonderful. My 2-year-old. My 2-year-old is a scenester. Is that what you're saying?
You're a scene kid. Your 2-year-old is emulating a scene kid in the mosh pit. But at least it's kind of cool that your 2-year-old's like, "Hey, punk, no," and just shoves you like, "Ah!"
Does it all the time.
This song here actually is like the first line pretty much gives it away. It's ruined. Everybody ruins music, not just me. Kind of ironic that he's saying that. But yeah, I mean, pretty much the point of this song is that I think it's pretty much quit bitching. You know, music's been ruined for everybody forever, so just because one band you like comes along, shut up. Which I'm like, that is a great message, Phil. If only I weren't a writer.
All right. Moving on to the next track. This is, speaking of scenesters and scene kids, this is track 6, Bedroom Destroyer. Am I wrong for wishing for a breakdown?
Yes.
Aw.
Well, I mean, I could see it fitting here, but honestly, this almost feels like a damn grind album now that I think about it. Like,
it's very grindcore-ish. I definitely feel like there's a lot of Soylent Green and Suffocation going on with this album.
That's ironic. I'm wearing a Suffocation t-shirt right now. Haha, I got it from a thrift store for $1.50. Fuck yeah. But yeah, this song, honestly, now that I'm reading the lyrics, I honestly feel like this is like Phil talking about him in like the 90s. Really depressed and angry and going to destroy every damn room because he's depressed and angry and like afraid and ashamed and blah, blah, blah. It's actually a nice, I guess, look at Phil's inner thoughts about Phil.
I wonder how many people that are listening to this album are picking up on that and thinking about it. You know, like I'm sure as an artist, he's like, oh, I want to share what it was like for me to go through sort of a manic period, a depressive period. You know, I want to share, you know, how mental health was really affecting me in my decision making. And people listen to that song and go, I want to hear Taylor Swift and twerking.
Taylor Swift. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I didn't really get, like, I thought the song was fairly catchy, too, maybe just for the better destroyer. And I'm like, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty catchy part. But, yeah, sometimes when you just go back and read the lyrics, you can find out there's actual stuff in there. Like, you know, honestly, I'm tempted to sit down and just listen to this once without reading lyrics and then listen to it again with them and see if I can really make this album to be as good as everybody's really trying to make it sound like it is. I don't know, because this album is so, like, you know, it's solid. I mean, I'm not going to spoil everything here, but so far this album has been it's been solid if you like the style, the grind, the sludgy grind with just kind of inane ramblings of a drunk hobo. You'll kind of enjoy it, especially up to this point. But yeah, I don't ever, obviously I'm like, yeah, 4 out of 5, you know, 80%. And I'm like, no, I just don't see it.
I think that's it, though. If you're not and I'm not, you know, admittedly, I am not a huge fan of grindcore. I like songs that sound like music. I don't like music that sounds like a traffic collision.
Somebody is caught in a garbage compactor.
Yeah, I'm not into it. And God bless you if you are. If grindcore is your thing, and certainly there are people who think grindcore is just spectacular, God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this album. I really do. And it's not like I wish look, on my way home today, after listening to this track, I was like, I want to hear Phil Anselmo make music again. And I put on Vulgar Display of Power. And I remember thinking, wow, this had to have been like the peak of his creative genius, along with the members of Pantera. It wasn't just Phil. But I remember thinking, there's not a bad song on this album. And there's a certain, you can definitely pick out elements that were on Vulgar Display of Power that resemble what he's doing here and what he's done with Superjoint Ritual. But there's also some down in there. But overall, it was just rhythmically, it was just a great album. It's one of my top 10 most perfect albums I've ever listened to. And I was like, with all of the stuff that he's doing and experimentation and everything else, I just wish he got back to the basics. I wish he got back to making, he doesn't have to make another Vulgar Display of Power, but at least try to make music instead of making an effects reel for a horror movie.
Go listen to that last Down EP. It just came out last year. It's not like he's been kidnapped and will never make music again. Because they're coming out with I think they're coming out with an EP like every year. So last year was like the Purple EP, which is kind of doomy and stonery, like their traditional stuff. I'm interested in this next one. But yeah, grind. I like grind. I have an appreciation for grind. I do not love grind. I have a very moderate tolerance, which the thing, and there's not many genres of metal I don't have a high tolerance for, to be honest. But yeah, I'm pretty tolerating of most things. But grind, after a while, is like, I like short songs. They can be good, but hearing, 20 songs in 40 minutes kind of sort of makes it lose its luster after a while, because I'm like, I don't know what song's what.
Unless it's Anal Cunt.
Well, anal cunt is funny, not because you know what they're saying. It's because you have to go look it up later and be like, God, Seth Putnam was a cunt.
All right. And
he really was an anal cunt. Aha!
Yeah. Then speaking of Seth Putnam being a cunt, this next song is called Bedridden. That actually sounded like it started off like an Anal Cunt song, and then it went 2 minutes too long.
All right, that goes out to you, Seth. Now for a song. Yeah. Actually, like I said, this is the song I thought the album would kind of be like it. Like, this song is honestly kind of catchy, and it does the point of the lyrics as well as the sound of the song do kind of paint the picture of a man who's angry and stuck in his bed and just kind of seething with just hatred as he withers away. I actually really did enjoy this song, and this is the one that got me, after you were like, hey, we're going to do Phil Anselmo, because, at first I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not sure. And then I heard this song, and I'm like, okay, maybe this album will be good. And then I listened to the album, and I'm like, Mark's not going to like reviewing this.
You totally sound like Boo Boo there.
In terms of I like it now, I know bad things get great podcasts. You know, like sometimes bad UFC events get really good rants from like Jeff and Pat and Robert. Okay, not really. Robert didn't really go on that many rants. I think I lost him in Fact or Fiction last week, by the way. That made me sad. I've been losing by one vote each week. But yeah, bad things make for great podcasting, but at the same time, if it's good, like, you know, Aim on the Mark, that was good. You and Sean, we got a damn good podcast out of that because there was enough substance in it to where we could kind of, you know, sprinkle some water in those seeds and grow a nice podcast. Now, this was kind of like, oh, here's a festering pile of garbage. You smell that stink? Yeah. So does everybody else. Let's talk about it.
I was totally going to make a joke there, and then you kept talking, so I'm not going to make a joke. I'm going to play another song. This is the last track on the album. This is called, and I feel like we've already done this with the one where he's destroying the house, but whatever. This is called Irrelevant Walls and Computer Screens.
There's bound to be error, ism, and schism, grinding on its throne. Elven Ilford, whipping, ripstickle, team fights rolling on. Throw irrelevant walls. It's someone literal. It's not an opinion. It's more political. So go right over my head.
Yeah, that's about all I can take of that. That wasn't bad, but by the time you get there, like, ugh, I'm done. Overall, like I said, I feel like this is a very self-indulgent project for Phil Anselmo. It was Phil Anselmo doing a Phil Anselmo production about stuff that he likes, which is fine, and that's his right. I don't have to buy it, and I won't, and I don't want to give it a good review. I would say it's a C, and that's being generous. Robert?
Was this last song right here? I'm just going to say this last song was 12 fucking minutes long. Did not need to go on 12 fucking minutes, Phil. Damn it.
No. I was actually prepared to say that's like the best song on the album, and then I saw the length it was, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what kind of meandering fucktardedness this goes into, but I don't want to be bothered with it.
Meandering fucktardedness. That is great. You know, that's...
You're welcome, America.
If I ever guest on the 411 Ground and Pound, that should be the name of the episode, Meandering Fucktardedness.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, this, I don't know, I just feel like, then again with MMA, I'm actually pretty to the point and not random because I feel like I have something to prove. But anyways, yeah, this album, honestly, I would maybe give it a C, maybe a high B. I'm probably going to, like, before I do my top 50 of the year, I'm going to listen to this again and give it another fair shake. Because, you know, I only have a 2,300-song playlist to get through. It's not going to happen, though. I'm probably going to get through the 500 songs that I want, and then I'm done. But, yeah, this album here is, if you have the patience and the testicular fortitude to really get through what this album is, which is honestly, it is his spoken, honestly, after making that point, I fully believe it. This is his spoken word performance. This is an advertisement for it. That is what this is. It is pretty much that with the band, because the band doesn't really do much. Like, Phil is he is the dog and the pony show. And he brings in the rest of Barnum and Bailey for that. It is pretty much, it is Phil Anselmo show, which is, you know, fitting because his name is on the marquee. But still, I mean, damn, Pettis and Bindo were not 90% of the card. Yeah. I feel like he should have given his band more to do and maybe kind of toned down some of the more grindier aspects, which, I mean, granted, if he would have done that, it might not have flowed as well. But yeah, this album, right now at this point, gets a C because I get what he's doing, I see what he's doing, and there's good content here. There's a lot of meandering. Now, if I revisit it, and I think it's better, I'll like totally be on here and be like, yeah, so I think we should have given it more of a chance. But I mean, hey, it's kind of ironic. This album that is very meh managed to get, you know, a solid hour or so of good conversation, rather than Children of Bodom, which is a far superior album that had me depressing you with comic books.
All right, so next, Tyrosus 2013. Eh?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Dude, it is getting shit on everywhere. Oh. Actually, there's one album that I got from, it came out in July, so it is a little far back, but it's real. Have you ever listened to Sabaton?
I know of them. I've never listened to them.
Okay, well, this basically what happened last year was their entire, like 5 or 4 out of the 6 members left the band and started a new band. And it's called Civil War, and it's a really, the new album is called The Killer Angels, and all their songs are about history and battles and shit, and it is really good. And it's power metal, so if we do... Pardon?
You said Civil War?
Civil War. That's the name of the band. And it came out around July, so it is a few months behind, but we have the excuse of we made our summer plans in May.
Is this one called the Killer Angels?
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks interesting. This looks like it's got a lot of it looks like it's got a lot of history going on here. I'll give it a listen.
A song about Napoleon, one of St. Patrick's Day. It's got some songs about Gettysburg. Yeah. It's pretty solid. It's like you mix Sabaton and a guy who wants to do an Udo impersonation, but also wants to do some Ronnie James Dio.
Okay. I'll give it a, you know what? Let's do that one. You want to do, I mean, it's your pick anyway, so you want to do Civil War, we'll do Civil War next.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure. Well, I guess if Sean shows up, he'll like this album. I can guarantee you that. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll upload it.
He has to be on to call his next album. If he's not on, then he gets skipped.
That is true. That is true. That's why I'm always lucky to be here.
That's
so, yeah,
right.
I will inform him in like an hour and a half on Rob Randall's podcast of me hijacking things like a twizzly mustache bandit. But yeah, I can totally upload all that. It's a really good album. I've been listening to it on a loop in the car.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, you're in charge of that. All right. So the next in 2 weeks we'll do Civil War right here on the Metal Hammer of Doom. All right. We have about a minute left. Go ahead and plug your stuff.
Okay. The Hammer of Doom news report every Sunday, or this week it was Monday because I went and saw White House Down and it was not worth it. But I did manage to get a pretty good fantasy team from the computer because I forgot the fantasy draft for 411's League was Sunday night. Yeah, I got Matty Ice, so good for me. Let's see, what else am I? Oh, yeah, 4-player co-op in the 411 game zone. Let's hope I win. I probably didn't win because Randall asked us to talk about our football team season, and I went on like a 700-word tirade about how the Panthers are going to win 9 games this year. And then I talked about the Grey Cup in the CFL just to try to pander. But yeah, I did that. I was going to do the top 5 in the music zone, but I had nothing and I didn't have time. So you should go check that out. It comes out tonight, and it is top 5 songs about songs with a place in the name. Not like Valhalla, but like Brooklyn, something like that. And let's see, anything else I'm in? I really don't think I'm doing anything else. Well, I might do the top 5 in the game zone, which is top 5 action RPGs. That should be interesting. And as for podcasts, the Cooperative Multiplayer Podcast starts in an hour and a half on Spreaker, on Stephen Randall's Spreaker. So go check that out. It'll be probably me, Jeremy Thomas, Daniel Anderson, Sean Garmer, and the aforementioned Stephen Randall. I also was in the man cave. I finally made it.
You were in a man cave? I am jealous. I haven't been asked to be back into the man cave since we did the first Oz episode.
Well, I mean, I came to him. I'm like, hey, man, you want to do a Panther podcast? He's like, sure. So I made it into the man cave with an hour-long Panthers season preview. And it was pretty good. The part of my narrative was destroyed when David Geddes got released. Because, he's back after a good year and a half of being injured. He's going to emerge as a good number 3 receiver. We're going to be fine. And then he got released the next day, and I'm like, damn it. And it was actually, it was funny because we did the podcast during the last preseason game. So I was shitting on Ted Ginn Jr., and then at the end of it, he had already scored like 2 touchdowns. He's like, isn't this ironic? It was a great way to end the podcast. He's like, start by just totally dumping on this guy, and now he's scoring touchdowns. So, what are you going to know? I'm like, exactly. And my last plug is for the Three Beards. Yeah, it's the greatest podcast known to earth when my audio works. I don't know what happens. I had to reinstall Audacity. I mean, this last episode, we talked about the Bat Fleck. Pretty much what you missed was the Bat Fleck, Kevin, drunk, and really going in a very whiny tirade about why South America and Europe get all the damn good Mike Patton shows, and why he's missing stuff like Danzig and Tomahawk while he has to go to New York. Which me and Fletcher go, I've never been to New York.
Okay.
That's what that pretty much boils down to. Him like, oh, I got to go do this at a comic convention. I'm like, I've never been up there, lucky fucker. Oh, and I laid an audible fart, and it was so bad that both Kevin and Fletcher were on Skype going, oh my God, was that you? So yeah, that is what you missed on the latest episode of Three Beards, and that is a good commercial for what you will hear on the Three Beards: drunken assholes, comic book bullshit, and just general tomfoolery. So yeah, you should totally come go check us out on iTunes. You can find us with Three Beards. Rate and review us 5 stars. I'll love you long time. And yeah, on Facebook at facebook.com/Three Beards Podcast, because I know Mark is totally caught up on the Three Beards, right? All right.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm assuming, because I remember last time you weren't, and I was like, you totally should, because you've got like a 4-hour commute a day or something.
Yeah, something like that. All right. But always fun doing these podcasts with you. I'm glad we kept it short and sweet this time, and just got right to the point. No fooling around. No nothing like that. All right. So we'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of the Metal Hammer of Doom. A week from tonight, Long Road to Ruin is back. 2 weeks ago, last week, we did a comic book special, which seems to be well received. I've gotten some feedback on it. People liked it. They got to hear me talk with passion about the Hulk. That's not gay or anything. We also talked.
We also talking about riding the Hulk.
We spent a long time talking about Ben Affleck and the aborted Justice League movie and Batman, Superman, and I went through my whole spiel about how you can't trust Warner Brothers to put together a porn, let alone a comic book movie. So so go ahead and check that out. It's just me and Sean bullshitting about comic books for 2+ hours. It was fun. It was cathartic. It was like therapy. Prior to that was Mission Impossible, and a week from tonight we finally start First Blood, and hopefully after we get our First Blood podcast off the ground, we'll be doing a video cast of the same subject, and that'll be posted on the Manic Expressions YouTube page. So we'll look for all that in the future. Keep your head out.
You're digging out of the Blog Talk hellhole.
Well, no, we'll still be using Blog Talk Radio, but we're going to be expanding the ways that you can listen to all the Radulich and Broadcasting Network shows besides iTunes and Stitcher. Rated just 5 stars. So, also keep your head out for when Breaking Bad goes off the air, the very last episode of Breaking Bad, that night, a bunch of us are going to get together and do a post-show wrap-up of the series finale. So that'll actually preempt the 411 Mania Ground & Pound show, which will be that morning at 11 a.m. So just keep on the lookout for that. Of course, every Sunday night is the 401 Ground & Pound radio show. We reviewed UFC 164 and all the various fight nights. And we previewed this week's upcoming fight night in Brazil with Glover Teixeira and Ryan Bader. Lastly, things coming up this week. I will be stepping in for Wyatt Boger, who is lost somewhere in time. I will be recapping the very first episode of The Ultimate Fighter Season 18, Sex Kitten, I believe is what it's called. So I'll I'll be.
Yeah, sex kitten, bitch.
So yes, I will be reviewing Sex Kitten for the site.
Let's hope Clucky shows up.
Yes, as soon as Fight Night 28 goes off the air, Tough 18 season premiere will debut, and then when that ends, I'll post the recap. I will also be covering this week's Bellator, Sex Kitten. No, I'll be reviewing. I'll be covering the new Bellator this week, September 7th. It's going to be on a Saturday, so look for that. Come hang out with us and see if I post any pictures of Clucky. And why would I post pictures of Clucky? Because it doesn't matter what you think. I think it's funny.
Not a judge, he's a chicken, boo.
That's right. All right, so for Mr. Robert Cooper, one of the three beards, this has been the Metal Hammer of Doom. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, be well, be safe, and behave.
I've been working, what